This is a result of the progress that we are making in ensuring that HIV-positive mothers are receiving early antenatal care and antiretroviral treatment. Maternal and child health specialists have been placed and deployed in each health district as part of a concerted strategy to improve clinical governance and overall quality of care. And the proportion of pregnant women accessing antenatal care before 20 weeks across all provinces has increased quite significantly. And in this regard, Madam Chair, Madam Speaker, we found that our programs are bearing fruit and we're making a significant impact in improving the health of pregnant mothers and reducing the child mortality levels in our country. Thank you.
The Honorable Mandela. Honorable Singh, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I hope you're not asking me to sing. Thank you, Honorable Deputy President, for that response. Yes, indeed. South Africa can pride itself in the great strides that have been made in dealing with those who have the HIV virus and educating people about HIV and AIDS. This, Honorable Deputy President, is welcome when we look at the dark days of denialism, when somebody in this House said that HIV did not cause AIDS. And also from the days when an ANC MEC in KwaZulu-Natal took his own government to the Constitutional Court when he challenged Premier Charlie, when Premier Charlie authorized the giving of nevirapine to pregnant mothers. That was a sad day in our history. Also, I think we have done well, Honorable Deputy President, in educating men that it is a myth that the status of a person who is HIV positive will be reversed if they have sex with a virgin or a child, and other myths that you would not contract the virus if you have a shower after having unprotected sex with a person who is HIV positive. However, Honorable Deputy President, these gains that South Africa has achieved, and they are considerable gains in reducing the disease, despite trying circumstances, will definitely be reversed if we do not deal comprehensively with the findings of the report that was published by Amnesty International. Now, we understand that the report was just case studies in 2 areas, but if it is widespread, Honorable Speaker, then we are in for serious challenges. So we are pleased that the Deputy President is giving us an assurance that the healthcare system can accommodate these kinds of challenges. But we hear often, Honorable Deputy President, of clinics that are understaffed, clinics that do not have...
Yes, Honorable Chief Whip.
Clearly, that's a statement. It's not a follow-up question. What is the question?
Yes, Honorable Singh. Can you be... In fact, your time has expired, but I'll allow you if you have a question.
Honorable Speaker, the question is, and if the Honorable Chief Whip of the ruling party didn't interrupt, I would ask, can the Honorable Deputy President assure us that all clinics will be adequately staffed, that they will have the necessary drugs there, and that people will not be humiliated when they go in those clinics because their status is often divulged to members of the community? Thank you.
Honorable Deputy President.
Honorable Speaker, I can say that we face a number of challenges, and we are recognized around the world for being the leading country that has taken strong and effective steps to deal with the HIV pandemic. And we are also having to deal with various other challenges in relation to how our healthcare system functions in clinics, in hospitals. I will be in Mpumalanga myself on Friday and will be visiting a number of clinics in that province, and I'll be doing so just to go and see for myself. And thereafter, we will want to take remedial action where we find that there are weaknesses. I'll be accompanied by the Minister of Health and a number of officials in his department. So we are taking steps. There are challenges, and I don't think we can ever want to deny that we face challenges, but we're taking steps to correct, to address those challenges. So you can be rest assured that the government is not sitting on its laurels. It is taking action where it is required, and we will solve all our problems. Thank you very much.
The Honorable Kado from the DA.
No,
It's a DA member, Kado.
no, can't be. I think that must be a mistake. Madam Speaker, I pressed the button first.
Your name is lower down. The first DA member who pressed the button is Kado.
It cannot be.
No, I'm just referring to what is presented to me here.
Sorry,
By
Speaker,
the-
I'm happy to give the question to my colleague.
Please. Okay, Honorable James.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, a visit to Port Elizabeth's Livingston Hospital revealed major failure in the National Department and the Eastern Cape's Health Authority's management of the medicine and pharmaceutical tender process. The result of which is that hospital is running out of multi-drug resistant TB drugs and will run out of antiretrovirals to deal with HIV. They have run out of asthma pumps and medication for hypertension already. Would the Deputy President make a commitment in this House that he will engage with Health Minister Aaron Matsaledi to find a solution to the perennial stockout problem when it comes to HIV/AIDS and its nasty friend, the co-infective TB drugs, and to report on progress that he makes to this House? I thank you.
Honorable Deputy President.
You will be pleased to know, Honourable Member, that the Minister of Health and myself are in continuous conversation as a part of the participants in SANEC about some of the challenges that you are talking about. So the availability of medication in our various clinics and hospitals is a topic that we keep talking about, and we're looking very closely at the causes of those challenges and problems. So it's a matter that continues to enjoy attention, and we are solving a number of problems in those provinces and those districts where they prevail. And I'm sure that the Minister of Health, if he were here himself, would testify to the fact that the very one that you have referred to has come before his desk and it is being attended to. So it's an ongoing process, and we're happy to come back and report to Parliament about the progress that we are making as we roll out more effective healthcare to our people. Thank you very much.
The Honorable Filtane.
Honorable Speaker, I want to withdraw. I must have pressed a little too early. Mine is a follow-up question on the second question that the Deputy President will be responding to. I'm sorry.
The Honorable Machobeni from the EFF.
Sorry, Speaker, I've made a mistake.
The Honorable Mahlalela from the ANC.
No, thanks, Honorable Speaker. Ngibonge kusekela mongameli ngempendulo lekanikete tona. Lengithanda ukulandelela kumsekela mongameli ukuthi recently the Minister of Health has launched a program or initiatives called Mom Connect. I just want to check the extent to which this program will have an impact in relation to access to antenatal health care for people in particular living in the rural areas, as well as the challenges around mobile clinic and emergency services in terms of access to transport for people living in the rural areas? Thanks very much.
Honorable Deputy President.
The Mom Connect program is actually becoming quite popular and widespread. We have found that a number of people, and indeed living in rural areas, are participating in it. And even those who will have challenges in relation to transport at the district level will be finding that assistance will be at hand, and it's a particular problem that has been raised and is being addressed as we speak. But just to say that the Mom Connect program, which enables people to, through internet, to participate in a program in large numbers that is going to have an impact on their health and improve healthcare, is going to be quite effective, and we would like to spread it around the country quite more than what we have now. So it is being rolled out. Thank you very much.
The Honorable Maxson.
Thank you, Speaker. Deputy President, despite hope for the decline of new HIV infection, recent statistics indicate that, in actual fact, new infections continue to be on the increase. Deputy President, please provide a scientific explanation to this House why this is so. Despite the huge and costly HIV campaigns championed by the Department of Health and all other departments, may the argument go beyond the human behavior factor, because human behavior does get influenced every day by the media. Is it not perhaps because there is not enough exemplary moral leadership by the executive of this country, especially your president? Thank you.
The Honorable the Deputy President.
Honorable Speaker, I can say to the Honorable Member that the question that she has raised is a question that we are addressing at the SANEC level. We're going to be having a plenary shortly, and the increase in new infections, if members will listen, because we are dealing with quite a serious matter that affects the lives of many South Africans. The increase in the number of infections is a matter of concern to all of us. We've been witnessing much higher increases, particularly amongst the youth, and there are quite a number of reasons why this is so. We are going to be probing them. Indeed, it's not only a question of whether the media is spreading the information or not, or whether the leadership that is in this House also has a role to play in being exemplary and in spreading the message. And the message that we are spreading is that we would like young people, particularly because they are so exposed, to abstain much longer from participating in sexual activity at a young age. And we are going to be ensuring that the message, the awareness campaigns that we have to embark on are put at a much higher tempo. The SANEC plenary, which will meet in a few days, will be dealing with all these challenges. And I'm sure that after that SANEC plenary, we will be able to make a number of announcements with regard to the programs and activities that we are going to embark upon to stem this high tide of the increase in infections. The new infections in our country are quite alarming at this stage, and we would like to reverse that trend. And we will be taking steps to reverse the trend. But the message that should go out, quite honestly, is that it is not only the role of one person, it is our collective role. All of us as leaders, as seated in this House, we have a role to play when it comes to curbing the AIDS pandemic. And let us go out and play our role. Thank you very much.
We now come to question number 6 that has been asked by the Honorable Filtane. The Honorable the Deputy President.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. As the leader of government business, as soon as I was appointed, I intended and still intend to do so, to meet the leaders, the parliamentary leaders of all parties. And I started with that process and was able to meet, if I can say so, with the leader of the official opposition. And we had a discussion and outlined to him the type of engagement that I would like to have, not only with himself as leader of the official opposition, but with all other leaders. And to this end, I have sought in the last 2 months to arrange appointments with the other leaders of the parties that are represented here. In some cases, we actually settled on appointments, but we had to shift and postpone those meetings because of my tight program. I then got involved in the Lesotho process, and in some cases, some of the leaders were not able to meet me when we were meant to meet. I intend to continue with this resolve to meet all the parliamentary leaders of various parties, and I would actually like to have a meeting with them before we adjourn for this year. And I've already started a process of getting my office to try and settle an appointment for the 18th of November, after my birthday, so that I can have breakfast. I can have breakfast with the various leaders of the political parties. And in that meeting, we would like to have an engagement with the various leaders on issues of common interest. Matters of national importance will be discussed at that meeting, and I'm hoping that the leaders will make themselves available for the 18th. If they are not available on the 18th, we will set another date, but the intention to meet the leaders of the various parliamentary parties is there, and I'm looking forward to having a meeting with them as the leader of government business. Thank you.
The Honorable Filtane.
Honorable Speaker, it is absolutely pleasing to hear the swift response of the Honorable Deputy President to a letter dated the 30th of July by UDM requesting this kind of meeting. I just want to get your assurance, this is a question without a question mark, that in that meeting, will you definitely consider, I would like for this to be put in the agenda, will you definitely consider the following matters, which I know were raised in our letter to you? The allocation of more time to the smaller parties. Now, contrary to what members of the ruling party will expectedly jump to, we are not asking for time from the ruling majority party. We want a more rational allocation of time because practically it is very difficult, unless we are not regarded as qualified members of parliament, it's very difficult to develop a rational debate inside 3 minutes. We need more time. Time and time again, the majority party has admitted that it is unable to overcome some of the challenges of our society. You need, the majority party needs an input from this side of the House. That is the basis of it all. Also, funding legislation. Those are some of the issues that
Honourable
we request
Member, your time has
to
expired.
include. Thank you.
The Honourable, the Deputy President.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I can say that at that meeting, we will be prepared to discuss anything under the sun, including the allocation of time, funding legislation, and indeed anything of national importance. So I'm happy to give the member the assurance that the agenda will not be limited. It will be as broad as they want it to be, and we will want to discuss matters as effectively as possible and find solutions to some of the challenges, and there are many challenges that minority parties face, the challenges that they face, and we will find answers to all those problems. Thank you.
The Honorable Maimane.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Honorable Deputy President, Leader of Government Business, since our first meeting in July, which I appreciate, I've written to your office 3 times, and I hold up this one particular copy that acknowledges receipt of the email. I wrote again on the 22nd of August. Here's another email. I wrote again in October asking simply, Deputy President, that in fact, since then, I've spoken to different staff to schedule a follow-up meeting between yourself and myself, which I appreciate that one has been scheduled. But Deputy President, I want to thank you for that commitment. Here's my challenge though. When is President Zuma going to appear in this house? You see, I think we can agree as leader of government business that in fact it's fine for the president he wants to go to the National Council of Provinces, but he must come here for accountability. This is where he's accountable. Is he going to be accountable for Nkandla, for the electricity crisis, for the levels of unemployment that are rising, for Gupta Gate, for the crime? Deputy President, as leader of government business, Rosatom, we can keep going. Are you going to ensure that the president complies with the rules of this house, that he must be here 4 times a year? So I'd like to know if you're going to put forward a commitment. When will President Zuma appear before the National Assembly? Thank you very much.
The Deputy President.
Madam Speaker, we will all recall that the President, to be more specific to the question that Honorable Maimane is raising, the President did appear before this House on the 21st of August. And when he appeared, he answered 6 questions that had been put to him. He was able to answer 3 of those questions, and he was not able to complete his answers to all the questions that had been posed, largely because of the incident that occurred here. And that incident is currently under review, is currently being handled by a committee, and that committee still has to complete its work. But much more than that, the President issued a statement on the 19th of October in which he said, and some people had gone public to newspapers where they were seemingly suggesting that the President will no longer attend to parliamentary responsibilities, and the President's office issued this statement which read, "The President continues to meet his parliamentary obligations. The President responds to oral questions 4 times in a year in the National Assembly, and the President continues to respond to written replies." The President is doing that from members of this very Parliament. That's what the President is doing. And the President will tomorrow be addressing the NCOP. And the President is very clear about his own responsibilities. And when he appeared here, members of this very House prevented the President from answering all the questions that he wanted to answer. So what more do you want? It is these very members who actually stood in the way of the President answering questions. Now, the President has a responsibility which he will not shake away from. That is what he was elected for. So
On a point of order.
let us be clear about things
On
like
a point
that.
of order.
Thank you, Mayor.
What is the point of order, Honorable Rosie?
I think the Deputy President must not make conclusions on behalf of the powers and
No,
privileges
that's not a
committee.
point of order.
No, Madam Chairperson, I'm saying the issue is under sub judice. There was a ruling in this house
There
yesterday.
is no
that we
point.
cannot
That's not
make
a point
conclusive
of
remarks.
order, Honorable Rosie.
It is. He's anticipating,
No,
and there was a rule yesterday
it's
in the
not
house.
a point of order. Take your seat, Honorable Ndlozi, so we can proceed.
Speaker.
I now call upon Honorable Nkomo.
Madam Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Maimane, you've had your chance to
No, I
ask.
know that, but I'm afraid the Deputy President blamed another process and not answered the
Honorable
question. When
Maimane.
will the President appear? It's as simple as that.
Honorable Maimane,
You can't
please,
just prove the point.
please take your seat.
Ask the Deputy President to answer the question.
Take
please.
your seat, Honorable
Please,
Maimane.
Speaker, let him answer the question.
Speaker.
Honorable Nkomo
Speaker.
of the IFP.
Honorable Speaker.
No, Honorable Shibambu, please take your seat.
But
I want to proceed.
We've got the right to speak in this house.
No,
Why-
you
why
can't
are we
just
being
speak.
denied the right to
You
speak?
can't just speak anytime you want to speak.
But when we call to be recognized, you must
No,
recognize us.
Honorable Shibambu, I have recognized Honorable Nkomo from the IFP.
Because you're making wrong rulings.
It's
We
her
want to call
chance
you
to
order
speak.
for wrong rulings. You
Please
must allow
take
us
your
to do
seat.
that.
Take your seat.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Nkomo, please
Thank you
proceed.
very much, Honorable Speaker. This is to our Honorable Deputy President. Honorable Deputy President, in your opinion, is the current relationship and oversight between the Executive and Parliament conducive to an effective and working Parliament? How can the relationship between the Executive and Parliament be improved? Because it seems to be strained. Thank you.
The Deputy President.
I should say that, Honorable Speaker, the relationship between the Executive and Parliament is a relationship that is enshrined in our Constitution. It's a relationship that should be rule-based. It's a relationship that should be based on respect of each other. What I do know is that the President respects this House. He has deep respect for this House. And he is prepared to execute his task as the President of the Republic in honoring the oath that he took. And what we would like to see as members of the Executive is to see a relationship between Parliament and the Executive functioning well. But right now, it's a relationship, yes, that's not functioning as well as we want to. And it is precisely this that, as leader of government business, that I would like to address in my meetings with leaders of the political parties. And it becomes very difficult when there is howling and screaming and shouting to have a reasonable relationship. Now, if you want to promote a good relationship, you've got to create a climate, a conducive environment for that relationship to thrive. And for as long as the type of behavior that one is getting from members of the parties in opposition persists, we will not have a good relationship between Parliament and the Executive. Now I want to call upon members of the opposition parties
Speaker.
to be respectful to the President of the Republic, to be respectful to the office of the President of the Republic.
Speaker, on a point of order.
What is the point of order, Honourable Member?
The opposition doesn't have to do anything. The rule is laid out in the Constitution and in the
Honourable
rules of this
Member,
House.
allow the Deputy President to finish.
If the opposition does not need to do anything, then stop complaining. That's exactly what you should do, because if you want, it's a two-way street. It's not a one-way street. It's a two-way street. If you want a good relationship between the executive and this House, then it must be mutually beneficial, and it must be executed on both sides.
Point of order,
Thank you,
Madam Chair.
Madam Speaker.
Point of order.
What's the point of order?
The point of order that I rise to raise with the Deputy President is that unless if you want to lead us in concluding that there is no honor amongst these honorable people, can he please stop misleading the House? Please.
That's not a point of order, Honourable Member. Honourable Members, I now wish to invite Reverend Mishwe to ask the final supplementary question.
Thank you, Speaker. The first democratic president of the new South Africa, the late President Nelson Mandela, used to hold regular meetings with leaders of the opposition, not only to streamline the political arrangements of the government's legislative program in the National Assembly, but to also get their opinions on important matters facing the nation. I'm delighted that the Deputy President sounds like he's planning to emulate him in this matter. What I want to know, Deputy President, is whether you will consider informing the President of the country, President Jacob Zuma, about your meeting with leaders of the opposition on the 18th of November and convey the request of leaders of this House to meet with him also before Parliament rises towards the end of this month. We believe such a meeting will help to foster greater cooperation between all parties in this House. Thank you.
The Honourable Deputy President.
Honourable Speaker, I'd like to say to Honourable Reverend Mishwe that the President of the Republic is well aware of this meeting that is being planned for the 18th, and in fact, he inspired it. He is the one who said, why don't you do this? So that meeting will take place with his full knowledge. And let me just say that the President has had a number of meetings with some members of the opposition parties. And it is within his program that he would like to meet more and more of members of the opposition party. And obviously, when he meets them, one, he will not be insulting them. Two, he will not be screaming and shouting at them. And he will be showing total respect to them because he remembers one thing. Much as they are in the minority in Parliament, they are leaders of our people. They are here because they were elected by our people to be here. And that only makes him respect them, recognize them, and want to work with them. That is the approach of the President. Now, if leaders of political parties are going to be insulting, they are going to be disrespectful, and they are not going to recognize the position that he and other leaders hold, then it makes it very difficult for that type of meeting to take place. So let us be aware that the President wants to meet various political party leaders.
Can I call a point of order, please?
Honourable Shibambu, what is the point of order?
Currently, Cyril is saying that, Honourable Ramaphosa is saying that leaders of political parties are disrespectful and are insulting. What is he talking about? Because he's casting aspersions on us as leaders of political parties.
Honourable Chair.
And really is not assisting us.
Honourable Shibamu, that's not a point of order.
Yes.
It's a point of your opinion on what the Honourable...
to the Deputy President. You call him Cyril.
Honourable members, we now move...
Madam Deputy Speaker.
No, Honourable Likota. What are you rising on?
Madam Deputy Speaker.
I became speaker long ago, not deputy speaker.
Madam Speaker, I humbly rise on an issue that I really think I don't want to be part of the raucous. But an impression must not be created in the House that we can only expect to be addressed by the President and the Deputy President on condition we behave in some way that they dictate to us.
Honorable Likota, please
cannot be subject to that.
Please raise that issue when you meet the Honorable Ramaphosa. We now come to question number 7 that has been asked by the Honorable Masango. And may I take the opportunity to remind members, when we get to supplementary questions, the supplementary questions must be based on the original question. We shouldn't take the opportunity of the supplementary question to then divert and go off to some other question that in fact has nothing to do with the original question on the order paper. Honorable President, the Deputy President.
Honorable Speaker, considerable progress has been made in restoring security and political stability in the Kingdom of Lesotho. And this follows on the unfortunate events of the 30th of August. And as part of SADC, we have met after the SADC leaders, the double troika +2, the 2 being the DRC and Tanzania, who met here in Pretoria. They appointed us as a facilitator. And as facilitator, we proceeded to Lesotho and have had a considerable number of meetings with various political players and other role players in Lesotho, including meeting with His Majesty the King, Letsie III, leaders of various political parties, church leaders, and NGOs, and members of parliament. And on the 2nd of October, all political parties that are represented in parliament signed what we called the Maseru Facilitation Declaration, where, amongst other things, all these parties committed themselves to facilitate the holding of early elections in February 2015. And elections were due to be held only in 2017, but when the leaders met in Pretoria, they realized that the only way to restore stability in Lesotho was to bring forward the elections, and the commitment that has been made by parties is in line with the analysis that was made by the leaders in SADC. So they have agreed to this, and this also led to the parliament being reopened. So parliament was reopened on the 17th of October, and we then proceeded, after parliament was successfully opened, Madam Speaker, to sign what we've now called the Maseru Security Accord, where we sought to restore peace and security in the Kingdom of Lesotho by getting the army and the police force to start working together. And one of the ways to achieve this objective was to get 3 leaders of the security forces, the leader of the army, General Kamodi, the leader of the police, Commissioner Tswana, and Major General Mahau, to take a leave of absence. And we're rather pleased that these officers have agreed to take a leave of absence after they realized that the tension that existed between the police and the army was bringing a measure of instability in Lesotho. Lesotho is now enjoying a good measure of stability and peace as the nation prepares itself to go to elections. And one of the objectives that we have as SADC, having set up a mission in Maseru, is to help with the depoliticization of the Lesotho Defense Force, as well as the Lesotho Mounted Police, and to work with all the role players in that country to ensure that we have a peaceful election in February. His Majesty the King is still to pronounce a date for these elections, and we're hoping that once that date is announced, Parliament will be dissolved, and the various political parties will then go to the hustings and campaign amongst Lesotho nationals for a new Parliament to be elected and a new government to be elected. Now, all this, Madam Speaker, we are doing through the spirit of international solidarity. We find that the interests of the people of Lesotho are not only intricately linked with the interests of the people of South Africa, but of the whole region. Now, this is great credit to SADC as a whole, that SADC leaders were able to act very quickly and swiftly to restore peace and security in the Kingdom of Lesotho. And due credit must also go to the Basotho themselves for being steadfast in their commitment to having Lesotho as a democratic country. And so they are going to go to elections, and I think we should just support their resolve to be democratic and to elect a new government. Thank you very much.
Honorable Masango.
Honorable Speaker, may I address you?
On what, Honorable Ndlozi?
Thanks. There's a rule here that the Deputy President must speak for 3 minutes. I did not want to disrupt
I also have the option to add 2 minutes, and therefore he has spoken for 2 minutes more, which I have as a chairperson, the right to give him when I know that the information he's giving to the House is critical.
Okay.
So it is within the rules. Please take your seat, Honorable Ndlozi. Honorable Masango.
Honorable Deputy President, in your assessment, are you confident that peace and stability has now returned to Lesotho for parties to be able to campaign, and that parties to the agreement will respect the time frame for the holding of general elections in 2015?
Honorable Deputy President.
Madam Speaker, I have reason to believe that peace and security is being restored in the Kingdom of Lesotho. We remain engaged as SADC. SADC, composed of the various countries in our region, has deployed a number of officials and officers who are helping in terms of supporting Basotho nationals and the government of Lesotho to move towards elections. So we are monitoring the situation on an ongoing basis, and there's a great deal of cooperation between the SADC officials and the SADC office and the government of Lesotho, and indeed the various political parties. We believe that they will be able to proceed to the elections in February and hold free and fair elections. Thank you.
The Honorable Mbele.
Ngiyabonga Somlomo. Honorable Deputy Presidents, while we are happy to support our country in giving assistance to our regional neighbors, we are also aware that there are still South African police officers deployed in Maseru and other parts of Lesotho to protect and guard Prime Minister Thomas Thabane and other opposition party leaders. So we would like to know how many SAPS officers are deployed in Lesotho. Is their deployment part of the negotiated settlement that you mediated as the SADC facilitator? And on what dates will these officers come back to South Africa to protect our citizens in the face of increasing crime levels?
Honorable Deputy President.
I should say that I'm not at the moment aware of the total number. The number fluctuates from time to time. And let me say that the component of security officers in the form of police and also others that we have deployed in Lesotho has been done at the SADC level. And a number of countries in the region, Namibia, to be specific, Botswana, Zimbabwe, and Malawi have contributed members. to the team that we now have in Maseru or in Lesotho. And this team is meant to be in Lesotho right up till the elections. So we're looking at a period just beyond February of next year. That's the time that we will have them on the ground to help stabilize the situation and to make sure that we consolidate the peace and security that we have achieved. This is a contribution that we have to make as members of SADC, and indeed other countries are doing precisely the same. So South Africa is not the only one that has deployed or deployed people in Lesotho. A number of other countries have done so, and we're working in great cooperation with all of them. Thank you very much.
The Honorable Holomisa.
Honorable Speaker, Honorable Deputy President, your good work in Lesotho is commendable, sir. However, don't you think that SADC as a region need to consider sustainable strategy to minimize these incidents and conflicts through regional integration in the areas of finance, security, as well as infrastructure? Masingabi zi-firefighters kuphela. Nathi xa sinengxaki masikwazi ukuncediswa ngabo. Apha sibelwa impahla, inkomo, zirhino, abantu babaleke abalapha kuthi bozifihla ngapha, abangapha beze ngapha. So ingathi masesiyithatha le nto ibe kwenye level. Singapheleli nje uba ngo-Father Christmas and firefighters. Enkosi.
The Honorable Deputy President.
Honorable Speaker, Honorable Holomisa, I wouldn't call our involvement in Lesotho or characterize it as South Africa being Father Christmas. I think we have interests too that as South Africa we have to advance and protect. You will recall that at an economic level we are intricately linked with Lesotho in many, many ways. We have the SACU process between ourselves and Lesotho and a number of countries in the region, but we also buy quite a lot of water from Lesotho. The water that we get in the Gauteng area, and some of it is spilling towards the Free State, is from Lesotho. So when we take action, we are also protecting our own interests. We are acting in our own interests, and one should never see it or dismiss it as us acting as Father Christmas. We obviously extend our cooperation with countries in the region to other matters way beyond just political matters. We are also involved. Into Zamaphoyisa, we are also involved. So our involvement with various countries in the region is multi-pronged. It's not limited to one issue only. And of course, South Africa should never consider itself to be more important than other countries or being a Father Christmas. We get a lot of support from them, and so when they are going through stress and difficulties, so must we support them. That is what Oliver Reginald Tambo taught us, that we should be fired up with the spirit of international solidarity, and we are acting it out. For we too, it's international solidarity. Let's take a guy. Thank you.
The Honorable Murapela.
Thank you, Speaker. Deputy President, despite this being a SADC mandate, is it not ironic and speak of double standards that South African can negotiate democratic settlement in the Lesotho with a straight face, while opposition parties are struggling to exist and to hold executive to account here in Parliament, without risking being sanctioned and dragged into kangaroo court? By the way, charity begins at home. After all, President Zuma once said in this House that opposition parties have no say in the manner that government is run, because they are minorities.
The Honorable Deputy President.
I did not get the gist of the question, but for what it's worth, because I didn't get a sense that there was a question there, say for a comment, the government of the Republic of South Africa does everything to advance the interests of the people of this country. We're not only acting to advance the interests of other people, and when challenges occur, even in other countries in our region, we are duty-bound, as we are seeking to advance our own interests, to intervene and to help where we can. And I don't see any irony there, because we are acting in our own self-interest. We are advancing our own interests, and if members do not see those interests that we are advancing, then I would say that we are all blind. Thank you.
We now come to question number 8 from the Honorable Likota, the President, Deputy President.
Honorable Speaker, on the question of non-governmental organizations, the government administers the Register of Non-Profit Organizations in terms of the Non-Profit Organizations Act of 1997. The Register of Non-Profit Organizations is a voluntary registration facility that enhances the credibility of the registered non-profit organization as it reports to a public office. The NPO Directorate holds information about registered NPOs for the public to access. This increases transparency and accountability of those organizations beyond its own immediate role players. It also contributes to better governance, as a registered NPO must comply with the requirements of the NPO Act. The NPO Act itself, the registration rather, it gives the NPO status. It is also a funding requirement for most donor organizations who want to fund NPOs to know that they comply, that they are registered, and they issue financial statements on an annual basis. The NPO registration facility, therefore, brings many NPOs into a public system that allows for information about the sector to be gathered and to make publicly available, which in many ways increases the confidence of the public in the non-profit sector. Government is therefore committed to ensuring that we have a thriving NGO sector, because it plays a critical role in our society and in entrenching democratic practice in our country as well. However, the financial sustainability and the viability of an NGO remains the responsibility of the NGO, because many of these NGOs have their own governance processes and structures, and they have programs that they have to pursue on an ongoing basis. So they, in the end, are independent entities that must look after their own structures and organizational matters. The state funding to an NGO is often provided on the basis of a service or a product to be delivered, and according to a clear set of criteria and competitive processes. I must say that a number of NGOs, yes, do derive funding from the state, and they get funding on the basis that's clearly laid out in executing certain campaigns, programs, and providing certain services. So the state or the government is intricately linked with a number of the interests of and operations of a number of NGOs, and our democracy thrives because we do have well-functioning NGOs that also assist the state in executing its programs. Thank you very much.
The Honorable Likota.
Thank you, Speaker. May I, through you, Speaker, ask the Deputy President if the information as to the annual amount of money made available from public funds can be made available to opposition and to the legislature so that we can continue to monitor whether even those public funds that are allotted to the NGOs are actually employed as indicated. Secondly, can we be given an indication of those formations that were part of the struggle against apartheid? How many of them survive, like the South African Council of Churches? And do they continue to receive support from the state as they did not get any support previously, and as they are tried and tested, reliable strugglers for a democratic South Africa?
The Honourable Deputy President.
Honourable Speaker, in relation to the various NGOs that say get support, the question, could we get details? The details are in various government departments. Various government departments, in executing their mandate, do work with a number of NGOs, a number of entities, and as I said earlier, in executing the campaigns and programs, they actually do so through some NGOs, and they do fund them in as far as those programs are concerned. It might be difficult to have a consolidated list, but that's something that we can look at. In relation to those NGOs that participated in the struggle against apartheid, NGOs such as the SABC and a number of others, with regards to whether they are being funded by the state, if they are not executing programs like I've outlined through various departments, it might be difficult to actually get to know whether they are being funded, but to Honourable Lekota, that is information that we can find out, and if it exists in a way that it can be properly packaged, we'll be very happy to make it available to Honourable Lekota. Thank you very much.
The Honourable Maimane.
Motlatsa Mopresidente, ke a leboga. Ne ke batla ke re fela ke ka tlhompo ga re botsa dipotso tsa rona. Ebile re re o lwena re ka dumelana gore you can't pick and choose gore constitution o e tshwara yang. Ka jalo ne kopa, you can't say this circumstance is right for you to fulfill constitution. Ne ke re o mphitisitse molaetsa go Mopresidente o re fela some belief. Mr. President, khumbule khaya. But in line with your responsibilities as leader of government business, will you please undertake to this House that the National Lottery Board's revised provisions for funding of NGOs will prevent situations like that of COSATU receiving 1 million rands for anniversary celebrations from the National Lottery Board? And what will you do to make sure, in fact, for organizations such as the Treatment Action Campaign will continue to receive funding that is adequate, rather than, in fact, this money going to COSATU for birthday bashes? I thank you, Mr. Deputy President.
The Honourable Deputy President.
Honourable Speaker, ke a go leboga Rre Maimane. Go go utlwile sentle. Ntwe ya Lotteries Board, how are they changing their rules? That's something that can be looked at. Organizations like the Treatment Action Campaign do get funding. They do get funding to execute their campaigns. And obviously, every organization under the sun in our country always requires more funding. And it's a question of the availability of resources. And clearly, every organization should be supported. Organizations, as I said earlier, that act in the interests of our people deserve a lot of support. They need to be assisted financially, organizationally, and otherwise. So on that score, one would say, yes, we agree with you, and because they play an important role. So we have no problem whatsoever in assisting various organizations to continue executing their tasks. And the TAC, which we work with in SANEC, is one of those organizations that we think highly of, organization that we hold in high regard, and we are rather pleased as a government and through SANEC that we cooperate well and we work very well with the TAC. So it is one of those valued NGOs in our country. And so are organizations like COSATU. COSATU plays an important role in the body politic of South Africa. Whether people like it or not, COSATU occupies a prime position in the governance of our country generally, and they need to also enjoy a level of support. And fortunately, they have a solid membership, a membership that supports their programs and actions, and they should continue to grow stronger and stronger, and that's precisely what we want to see with COSATU. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy President. Honorable Machobeni.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. In light of Honorable Likota's question, the EFF would like to extend it further to pronounce that a recent study indicates that the NGOs which enjoys government support are those in which senior members of their ruling party sit in their executive boards. Is it this clear that the ruling party has come to master the art of talking democracy but walking autocracy?
Deputy President.
Honorable Deputy Speaker, I have no evidence that indicates that members of the ruling party sit on various NGOs that get funding from government, so I'm not aware of that. All I know is that those NGOs that get support from the state are the NGOs that continue to work in the interests of our people. NGOs that through their programs, through the products that they are able to put out there, they interface with government at a number of levels. And this happens not through one department, but a variety of departments in government. And you will find that the government works through various agencies. And many of those agencies are NGOs. And I find it difficult to understand that it could be said that members of the ruling party sit on all the NGOs that government works with. I don't think that is possible. I don't think that is what is happening. So it could well be something that the honorable member may well want to put forward to us as evidence so that we can see. But what I do know is that the government of the Republic of South Africa supports NGOs, and it will continue doing so. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy President. Honorable Swart.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Arising from your response, Honorable Deputy President, many NGOs in South Africa have also been able to obtain funding by having themselves registered as public benefit organizations with the receiver of revenue. This then allows donations made to such organizations to be tax deductible in terms of Section 18A of the Income Tax Act. Now, in view of the reduction in funding that many NGOs have been experiencing, it is then a pity that Section 18A is to be amended. Commentators have indicated that the increased compliance burden associated with the proposed amendment is unfortunate and is likely to detract from funds available for public benefit purposes, such as NGOs. Would you agree then, Honourable Deputy President, that given these challenges regarding funding, should this amendment result in less funds becoming available, it may need reconsideration? I thank you.
Deputy President.
To the extent that such a provision could lead to, yes, funding becoming lesser and lesser for NGOs, it is up to this House that deals with amendments to legislation to give consideration to the matter, and indeed through various other mechanisms such as public participation and engaging with those NGOs, we should be able to get to the root of the matter and find out the extent to which they are going to be hamstrung in executing their tasks. And I'd like to say that this should be done on an interactive basis where we have discussions with those NGOs and arrive at common solutions. And in this regard, we should engage with Treasury and find out the extent to which what the honourable member is saying is actually going to happen. Right now, where I stand, I do not have any knowledge, the deep knowledge that he has about those amendments, and we should have a discussion on an interactive basis and find out the extent to which they are going to find their organizational objectives being hamstrung and prevented. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deputy President. That concludes questions to the Deputy President. I thank the Honourable Deputy President. Honourable members, the next item on the order paper is questions addressed to ministers in the Peace and Security Cluster. Honourable members will recall that certain questions stood over during the questions to ministers in the Economic Cluster, and as requested in terms of Rule 109.3, the questions will be taken out of the cluster today. For this reason, there will be an additional 30 minutes added to the time allotted to questions for oral reply today. Question number 307 has been asked by Honourable J.J. Skosana to the Minister of Defence and Military Veterans. The Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. The challenges that the department encounters is the delivery of benefits like housing, job facilitation and placement, education support, and health care to military veterans is with regards to the implementation process. In most cases, the actual delivery agencies, which are mainly state departments and to a limited degree private sector entities, have their own policies, long-term plans and procedures that have to be adapted to accommodate the Department of Military Veterans' requirements and means. The service-level agreements are entirely dependent on the planning process of the implementing department and have no effective enforcement enablers beyond the practices of cooperative governance. This results in protracted negotiations that take long and affect the ability of the department to meet its targets. Discussions are currently taking place with the National Treasury and other relevant authorities to improve the delivery agreements and to ensure better monitoring of the implementing departments. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Is there any supplementary question? Honourable Skosana.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Deputy President, thank you, Minister, for an adequate response to my question. Deputy Speaker, will the Minister review the system of the Department of Military Veterans dependency on other departments to administer services to military veterans? Thank you.
Thank you, Minister.
Honourable Member, I must say it's not an easy matter. Certainly from the point of view of the failures so far, something seems wrong. So from that point of view, you may want to review, for instance, a system, but such a review may be about making improvements and not about discarding the current approach altogether. There may be such categories of benefits, for instance, which you may want to deal with internally, such as burials, funerals, memorialization, and training. But certainly many socio-economic benefits need to be directed as constituting part of our national efforts in areas such as housing and healthcare. These you may not want to deal with internally. And I thank you, Deputy Speaker.
I see this Honourable Mweniso.
Enkosi mhlali ngaphambili. Minister, ndicela uqonda. Emehlweni wakho ngendlela obajonga ngayo bonke abantu abangamaqhawe wokulwela inkululeko njengebe-APLA kunye nabe-Azandla ingaba babaluleke kangakanani? Ukuba bonke babalulekile kutheni sisenabayi about 35 abafana noKenny Mudzamai abasengapha kwezitixo zesele and abahleli kwintlupheko engapha kwamandla abo bathi baba nenhlahla yoba baphume ngaphakathi entolongweni kwabo ke sibalula even abo babebezi MK veterans and ukubana babalekile bona bazawukhululwa nini Nkosi.
Honorable Minister.
Nkosi kakhulu. Ndiyafuna ukutsho ubana amaqhawe onke whether ngamaqhawe eApla okanye iMKMVA okanye iAzanla babaluleke kakhulu kuthi. Uyawuqaphela into kokubana ngexesha ebesifoma umbutho ekuthiwa yi-South African Military Veterans Association onke lamaqhawe avela kwi-non-statutory forces aye angena abakwi-executive yalo mbutho kwakunye nabo babe kwi-statutory forces. Loo nto sasiyenzela ntoni? Senzela okokubana sikwazi into yobana sibe ne-forum apho sinxulumelana nabo bebonke kungakhange kube khona mkhethe wokubana ubani uphuma kuphi na umbutho. Okusalayo noba abantu baphume besilwa kwi-trench nge-trench kodwa sisonke besigalelela bhayini linye sonke besilwela into enye. That is the approach yethu as a Department of Military Veterans on this matter. And therefore even i-benefits ziya kubo bonke asikhathalelanga ukwazi into kokubana ubani ebekophi na umbutho. Kule ndaba ye-poverty hayi kona unyanisile inqwaleko inkulu kakhulu kwi-military veterans zethu zizonke. I-reason yaloko yile nto uyaziyo yokokubana abantu bethu ngelishwa thina singurhulumente sithathe ixesha ukokubana sibe nale department ezawujongana kunye nokunika i-benefits kwi-veterans ezazisilwa zamandulo. So le decision ithathwe kwipulukwane conference ngo-2007 ya-implementwa ngo-2009. So ndizama nje ukuchaza into yobana ezinye zezinto ezenze uba imeko ye-veterans zethu ibembi kakhulu. It is because siye sadelaya ukuthatha isinqumo sokubana sibe ne-department ezawujongana nabo kuphela. Okugqibela ke honorable member kulomba ke ngokuwejele. Kaloku andingominister wejele. Ndinguminister we-defense okwesibini ke futhi izinto ezimayilunga ne-parole nankuya uDeputy Minister ndiyakhola nominister ukhona ngabo ke abajongene nezinto ze-parole. Then kumba wona we-pardons ngumba othi ujongane ngqo kunye no-president. So malunga ne-pardons malunga kunye ne-parole zizinto ke mhlambe ezingathi zibhekiswe phaa kula mnyango we-correctional services. Ndiyabulela.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Iso of the DA.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. There are 5 instruments required to work in concert for the delivery of military veterans' benefits, and also to avoid the need for a ministerial directive to be issued to override any one because of a lack of it. And these are, of course, the database, a verified database, which is incomplete at this stage, funding that is also insufficient, MOUs and SLAs that are still incomplete, regulations that have been completed in February of this year, and of course policy and frameworks that are also incomplete. Now the issue I want to raise, Honourable Speaker, is with regard to the MOUs and SLAs,